Hi everyone, and welcome to How Did You Show. Today I'm having a very, very fascinating guest with me. She is a real inspiration, not only to me, but to everyone out there who knows our wonderful Tania. They know that she is absolutely incredible in everything she does. She is a doctor, a mother of two, and a successful businesswoman. And I will let you tell us more about you. Hi, Tania.
Hi Lex, thank you so much for having me on your show. I am really excited to be here. It's been a long time coming. We've been planning this for ages, so I'm really happy that I'm actually here doing it with you today. So my name's Tania King Mohammed, and I have basically been in property for about a couple of years, let's say. My main strategy over the last year and a half has been serviced accommodation. So for anyone that doesn't know what that is, it is essentially a hospitality business that we run from our properties in Devon on a short-term basis. So we are a hotel alternative. So I've set that business and that company up at the back end of 2018, so November 2018. And in 2019, I've kind of created this business on 1 day a week. So every Thursday was my day to kind of spend on service accommodation. And I built that business up over the first year in 2019 to a six-figure business on my own, pretty much. So turning over six figures on 1 day a week. Alongside my job, I work as a doctor, as you've mentioned, and I have a toddler. And at that time, I was pregnant as well, but I now have a 6-month-old. So I have two amazing, beautiful girls as well, which is amazing. And I'm very, very blessed to have those. Yeah.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. Absolutely fantastic. This is exactly what I meant by you being a huge inspiration to us. How did you do all this? Well, I'm really looking forward to hear all this story. And I'm sure that you're going to, as this show is created for beginners, for property beginners especially, I'm sure that you're going to inspire a lot of our listeners. Now when we're recording this episode, we're actually having this global pandemic coronavirus as well. And you, on top of it, your children had a chicken pox as well. So
yeah,
both
my girls have had chicken pox. They've both just about recovered, but they're still covered in marks of the chicken pox at the moment, unfortunately, but they will go. So yeah.
But you, look at you, you're still smiling, you're still out there, and every single day you're inspiring thousands of people out there. Like, I follow you on social media and I can see what you do. Well, I can't follow you anywhere else at the moment because we're in isolation. You're doing a fantastic job. So can you tell us a bit more, like, why property? Why did you get into property? So you said you are a doctor. So what brought you to property?
So my husband's a builder, and essentially we wanted to get into property investing to generate some passive income, some passive cash flow. And so a lot of people don't know, but we actually started doing our own investment properties. So we started buying our own properties, renovating them, refinancing them, and then pulling most of the money that we invested into those property investments out once we refinanced them, and then renting them out. So we like to hold on to the properties that we buy. And keep hold of them for capital growth, as well as the monthly cash flow that they generate. But then we decided to get into serviced accommodation. The main reason and the main driver for that was we want to immigrate, basically. So our family wants to leave the UK. My husband's Brazilian. He doesn't really enjoy life over here in the UK at all, to be honest.
Brazilian in a rainy UK.
That's it. As you can imagine, I don't know if you've been to Brazil, Lenx, but Brazil is a completely different kettle of fish in terms of, it's an exotic, tropical, hot place. Everyone's hot, everyone's sexy, everyone's on the beach, everyone's enjoying life, the weather is great. And then you come to England, it's a bit different, let's face it. So the main reason, let me just go back to that then, the main reason we wanted to get serviced accommodation was to generate passive cash flow, or as much passive as possible cash flow, to alleviate me from my job, to relieve me from my job, so to replace my medical salary, my medical income, so then we could actually make that move to Ibiza, which is where we are immigrating to, which is going to be happening within the next year. And obviously I couldn't stay in a 9-to-5 job if we wanted to immigrate and move abroad. So we had to think creatively, we had to think outside the box. So we got into serviced accommodation specifically because it's very, very quick to get into. You don't need much money to get into it, and you can start generating cash flow within a few weeks. In my experience, I've taken a property on in December, I think. It started running just before Christmas. It was pretty much no money down deal, so we didn't have any actual money invested in that property at all. And between December and February, March, it generated about £8,000 on its own. So, you know, I was really happy with that. And that is the power of service accommodation. That's really what it can do for you. So you don't have to wait for conveyancing. You don't have to wait for saving up a big pot of money for a deposit, for a 25% deposit. So service accommodation was, you know, the best strategy within property that we could think of that could start generating an income and replace my medical salary and my medical income as quickly as possible.
Right.
So that's why I got into it.
That's amazing. But now just because this is for the beginners, when you're saying that it doesn't need a lot of money, are we talking about a rent to service accommodation? Do you do it on the basis as a rent to rent? Yeah. So is that correct?
Generally, so we've got a couple of properties that we own ourselves, but the majority of them are rent to SA. So we rent someone's property, and with their consent, with their agreement, we then rent it out on a short-term basis. So it's all contractual, it's all legal, it's all above board, and yeah, so that's what we do. So it's quick because you don't have to buy a property to start running this kind of property business from it, and you don't have to invest lots of money. All that you have to pay for is the deposit, if you have to pay for a deposit, but more often than not, I'm able to negotiate the deposit out, so we don't have to pay the deposit. Your 1 month rent up front, that's me, thinking outside the box always. Your 1 month's rent and your setup fees and the furnishing fees, maybe a little bit of renovation if you agree a renovation on the property, in which case you then come back to negotiate the terms between you and the landlord to benefit you if you're going to be putting a renovation onto their property. So yeah, so that's how we run. So we rent other people's properties and then rent them out with their consent on a short-term basis.
Amazing. Yeah. So there we go for the beginners out there. If they're thinking about starting in a service accommodation, that you don't need to own your property. There's a strategy called rent to rent, so rent to SA. And as you said, it's basically you find a property which you agreed with a landlord that you can rent it legally. You can rent it out as a holiday let. The name of the show is How Did You? So how did you set up your business? So how did it all started with you? Like the tip, can you just give us like some tips in the story for the beginners out there?
Yeah, so how did I do it? So we didn't realize there was a strategy called Rent to SA when we kind of started. We fumbled across that sort of within, I'd say, 6 months into the journey. So we just thought it was a great strategy, and so we started telling everyone what we did. And our first Rent to SA deal was actually our neighbour of a property that we own. We noticed that a property had been bought. They were completely gutting it, and so we were nosy. We went and knocked on the door. My husband did that, knocked on the door and asked them, you know, what are you planning to do with this property? And they were fully gutting it, so it was due for a full renovation. And so we actually negotiated that we would take on the full renovation and project management of that renovation at full price as well, which was great for us. But then we agreed to take it on as a Rent to SA deal, so we could generate use it for our business to generate cash flow through that way as well. So it kind of was great in both aspects. We earned money from doing the renovation, and we earn money on a monthly basis now from renting it out as a service department. So that's how we kind of started, and that was our first Rent to SA deal. So it's really important to kind of tell everyone what you do. That's really powerful and it really works. Then I obviously started to realize that this was a technique. It was a property investing strategy. So then I started educating myself massively on it. Now, I've not done any service accommodation courses or anything like that, but essentially I just surrounded myself with the appropriate network of people a few steps ahead of me, people at the same level as me, so I could actually learn as much as possible through osmosis and through interacting with my new network, how to implement this strategy more effectively, how to run it more effectively, generate more cash flow, generate more revenue from the business. And yeah, that's kind of how it started and how I started, how I did it, really. So yeah, but if I could do it, literally anyone can do it, because like you've already said, I've set this up on essentially 1 day a week. When I was working, I was pregnant most of last year. My baby was born in October, and I am a mum with a toddler as well. So it's been full on, but definitely if I can do it, anyone could do it. Like, absolutely.
It's like someone with so much on the plate managed to achieve what you achieve. It's like we have no excuses. Do you see what I mean? Like, who wants to get into it? There's no excuses. You just prove that no matter what you have, it's like you can do it if you put your mind into it. I guess you also have to be passionate. I mean, like, are you passionate about hospitality and property in general? Is that or did you grow into it, or how did you have the passion for it from the beginning? Is that something you love?
I have for learning new things and kind of immersing myself in new things. So if I'm going to do a job, I want to do it properly. So I'm passionate about learning how it all works, learning all of the intricacies, all the ins and outs of the business, of the property business, of SA. And I am passionate about a lot of elements to do with SA. So I'm passionate about the setup, about the interior design. I've now been asked by quite high profile people in property to now do their interior design for their CGIs, for their new build developments, for their other properties, for their other SAs. So I'm really, that part I'm super passionate about, the whole setup. I'm also passionate about the service that we provide our customers and our clients, because that is what's going to generate us more leads. That's what's going to generate us more income. If our customer and our guests are happy, they're going to come back and pay for more stays. They're going to be repeat bookers, and they're going to spread our business word of mouth, hopefully, to kind of generate more guests through them. So I'm definitely passionate about ensuring that our guests have the best quality stay that they possibly can. So I'm passionate about those things. Obviously, there are things in every business that you don't love. You can't literally love everything about every business. So I mean, there are times where you get difficult guests or where you get complaints and you have to deal with that. But I see it all as a learning process, and you know, that's the best time for you to learn and improve your business. It's, you know, when your fans telling you how amazing you are, you're not going to learn so much from those people. You're actually going to learn from your haters, or from your difficult customers, or the customer complaints that you get. That's where you're going to like learn masses and volumes from. So I take it all as a learning process, and I try to take it in my stride. But I would be lying if I said that I would be lying if I said that I was passionate about every aspect of serviced accommodation. But in terms of property in general, so like I said earlier, a lot of people don't realise that I do buy investment properties. So we buy, refurbish, refinance. We have a building company. We're also deal packages. We deal source in South Wales and in Devon as well. So that's really exciting. And I really enjoy that aspect of kind of working with investors. We're at the start of our journey. Just before COVID, actually, we started on the deal packaging journey. And I'm very excited about that, to be honest, because I love working with people. So the element of working with investors to help them solve an issue that they're dealing with in terms of wanting to generate more interest on the money that they've got stuck in their bank, which is about 0.1% at the moment. We can offer them much better interest of, let's say, 7-8% yielding property through sourcing a property to them. Then I'm really passionate about that. The same goes for actually working with vendors who have an issue. They've a pain point where they need to sell a property for X, Y, or Z reason. We can actually help them provide a solution for that. So I'm really passionate about helping people and working with people, because that's what I'm here to do, really. That's what I was born to do.
Well, you are also a doctor.
That's really cliche and really corny. I am also a doctor as well.
So you like helping people.
It's always been about helping. Yeah, it's always been about helping others, really. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's it's amazing. As you said, that you can't be passionate about absolutely every single aspect. So does it mean that do you outsource anything, or do you still do everything yourself? Or because I personally believe that especially when you're starting, that you should do all the jobs to know how you want to run your business well. But that's just my personal opinion. Not everybody does it this way. But eventually you start outsourcing, perhaps. So what is your situation? I mean, how do you deal with the things you don't like doing?
So from the beginning, I did everything myself, pretty much. So my husband would do any of the maintenance type stuff, and he quite often gets involved in that. I don't do any of that. But in terms of the day-to-day operations, the running of the business, even the cleaning, I literally started doing everything, and I got my hands dirty because I strongly believe that anyone getting into a business should know about every aspect of the business before you then hand it on to someone to outsource in terms of the operational side of things, because you want to make sure that you have quality of work and you're paying someone to provide a service and you are actually receiving that service. So I genuinely believe that you need to start understanding and knowing everything about every aspect of the business. Absolutely. Before you then outsource it. So I started doing everything, but now I have a team and I have a VA who deals with all the things that I don't really enjoy doing, in terms of kind of guest communication, and she deals with the day-to-day admin. And I'm not going to lie, I do not enjoy admin type tasks. Like the administrative side of things is not what I'm passionate about. I don't enjoy kind of sending invoices and chasing payments, so I have someone to do that on my behalf. So it's, you know, leverage and outsourcing is massive, and that's the only way that you are ever going to grow and scale a business. If you decide that's what you want to do, you need to start building a team. And one of my tips, and this is actually a tip that I was going to give later on in the interview, but I'll give it now because I'm just
you have a little tip.
One of my big tips is, if you're going to be setting up a business and you're in business and you want to grow and scale, then leverage sooner than you think you should do, or sooner than you think you need to, because it will just catapult you in terms of freeing up your time to work on the business rather than inside the business. So you actually give yourself that chance to actually grow and scale your business.
Right, that's fantastic advice, and coming from someone who done everything from the beginning yourself, so you know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about.
Everything, cleaning, you name it, I did it.
So you mentioned VA, and we just have to remember the podcast is for beginners. So just in case someone doesn't know, VA stands for virtual assistant. So it's like a personal assistant, but virtually. So many people, they have that you can have them from like abroad, or you can have them from England. Like, there's so many different options. So do you have any preferences?
So it depends what situation you're in terms of how much you can afford to pay for an outsourcer. So if you are, and it shouldn't all be about cost, by the way, because cost doesn't necessarily mean quality. That's really important. I should really highlight that. But generally speaking, if you are outsourcing to a VA, a virtual assistant abroad, then you are going to be spending a lot less on their salary compared to employing a VA over here in the UK. Now, that might sound awful, that might sound harsh, but actually, so my VA, as an example, she's based in the Philippines, she's lovely, and I love the general kind of Filipino attitude. Their work ethic is really strong. Morally, they have really high standards, really high morals, and they are, generally speaking, I think from my experience, they are genuinely out there to do their best and to help as much as possible. So I kind of work really well with lots of Filipino people that I've come into contact with, but her salary, I mean, for me, it's, you know, we pay it to here in the UK, to people in the UK, it would seem peanuts. It's a few £100s for a monthly salary, but actually over there the salary is a significant salary. It's a really good salary, relatively speaking. So I'm happy with that, and as long as she keeps doing the things that I expect her to, then eventually I will start to increase that, because that will incentivize her to work harder in my business, and, you know, she'll feel part of the team and she'll feel wanted. So it really depends what you want, because obviously if you're outsourcing to abroad, that VA isn't going to have English as their first language, so they may not have perfect English, so you may need to have to work on things, or you may let that kind of thing slip a little bit. It completely depends, but from a cost point of view, abroad is probably best, but then you need to balance that out with quality. So you may get quality from VAs over here in the UK, may get better quality, but I think it's also important just to think about what your responsibility is in terms of outsourcing and taking on a VA from abroad or in the UK as well. And it's all about you educating them, training them to run things how you want them to. And that takes a lot of dedication in terms of the onboarding system, the onboarding process, and your effort and time to assist them and monitor them and be there to assist them if they get stuck on something. So it's a difficult question to answer, but there are pros and cons between outsourcing to the UK and outsourcing to abroad.
Yeah, but it's nice.
So
It's good
those
to
are a
know
few
for the
things.
beginners to know that there are options, basically, you know. So, because I said that we have to remember this is for the beginners. So it's just nice to know that there are options for everything. Like even when we're talking about the property itself, it's that do you have to own it, or can you go rent to rent? So there are just different options. So it's good for the listeners to know. Just don't be scared about the overwhelm of the of the amount that they think that it could cost. That there are different ways around everything, basically. And yeah, so it's a very, very, very good tips. Thank you very much. I'm sure that they find it very useful. Now, okay, so let's start. So let's start now. Let's go back a little bit in the beginning. So, what would you advise the beginners in regards to when you're sourcing the property? So, like we're thinking about service accommodation, what sort of thing you would look for? Do you look for house? Do you look for flat? Does it need to have a parking, or what sort of thing you're looking for when you're looking for the right property?
So it all comes down to what your target market is, I think, and that's the first thing you need to do in your research. You need to make sure you've got demand in your area, and then you need to delineate what your target market is. What kind of people are you going to be hosting? What reasons are there to attract people into your area? So that could be tourists, it could be corporate groups, it could be contractors, it could be other types of people who need short-term accommodation. So you need to have a look at your target market to then decide what kind of property you're going to be looking for. Now, generally speaking, it's easier to do service accommodation with houses because you don't have an issue with leases. So pretty much all flats will be leasehold, and there will be a head lease. And in a lot of head leases for a lot of blocks of flats, it will stipulate that you can't do short-term lets, which means that you can't do service accommodation from that particular property. So houses don't have that issue, so that deletes that issue straight away. It also deletes the issue of having to deal with other neighbours within a flat type complex, so within an apartment block, for example. So in terms of lease issues, it's easier to do SA and to search for SA with a house because you don't have to deal with the lease issue. Target market, it depends. Well, if you know your target market, then that will dictate what kind of property you're looking for as well. So if your main market is contractors, then you're generally looking for a bigger property because contractors generally book for a larger group of 4 to 6 guys in one property. That's what they'll expect. They'll expect a larger property. If you are generally hosting corporate clients, then you may look at 1 or 2 beds or even studios. It really depends. So you have to focus first on what your target market is. Obviously, this is after you've made sure that service accommodation works in your area and you've done your numbers. But then it's very much based on what your target market is as to what property you should then be looking for and searching for.
Absolutely, that's the great advice. So is it easier to look for a property like via landlord, or you go through agents? Again, for the because obviously from my own experience, it's like it's sometimes I found it much more difficult to go through an agent because you need to explain the benefits of SA to you want to basically deliver your message through someone else. However, agents could be also good. So what about your experience? I mean, what's your experience between agents and the landlords directly?
So I would say that my preference is direct to landlord, just because you cut out the middleman of the estate agent, of the letting agent, which means that you can build dialogue between you and the landlord. You can build a relationship, you can build rapport. They get to know you. They'll get to know that hopefully you're a credible person, you're professional, you do what you say you're going to do. And that, I think, speaks volumes for me, to be honest, personally, from my experience. And generally speaking, landlords will have more than one property. So if you generate a good relationship with one landlord and take their property on, show them and demonstrate to them that you've actually looked after their property to a really high show home standard at all times, then they're quite likely, if they've got other properties, to then put them your way down the line, or through word of mouth recommend you to their friends or their investor colleagues or contacts as well. So I think that's really powerful. However, I'm definitely not negating the need for you to actually build really strong relationships with your local letting agents and estate agents, because they can act as your free or semi-free deal sources for your rent to SA deals. So I think you absolutely have to build your relationships with your local letting agents for that particular reason. So I think both are important, but my preference generally would be to go direct to landlord.
Yeah, that's brilliant. As you said, that the benefits in both basically. So when you go to directly to landlord, the another benefit as well is that when you meet someone in person, you show your personality. You show how like the way how you talk, the way how much you understand about the business, etc., etc. And you can build the trust from the meeting number one.
Yeah.
Which, if you go through agent, they will receive a piece of paper perhaps with, these are the benefits of, if we turn your property into SA or something like that. But or they will just try to pass them the message is not the same. However, as you said, that also with agents, it's very important. They as you said, that now you want to also start doing deal packaging. And if you wouldn't have built, the really strong relationship with agents, you would have to start probably from the beginning to start building the reports and everything, because you can deal package anything, can you? Like, you can deal package service accommodation, you can deal package conversions or HMOs, absolutely anything. Yeah. So yeah, it's absolutely important, in my opinion, as well, to build a great relationship with agents, but also go directly to landlord. So how do you look for landlords? Like, do you go somewhere like Gumtree or Marketplace, or what sort of place do you go to look for landlords directly?
So if you haven't got any connections with any landlords from the start, there are three main go-to sites and go-to areas that I would start searching for deals direct to landlords. So that would be Facebook Marketplace. That's a great website to use to source template. No, I was thinking template, but it's not a template. Come on, Tanya. So that's a great platform. That's what I was looking for.
Hey,
to search for your deals direct to landlord. Then there's Gumtree as well, and then there is Open Rent. So Open Rent is awesome because generally speaking, it will be the landlord or maybe the landlord's tenant that does the viewing for you if you go to view a property. So then you've got direct to landlord, direct to landlord, direct to vendor interaction and meeting there. So you can literally start to build the relationship between you and that landlord from the get-go. So those are my three sort of favorite portals to go to online to start looking for direct to landlord deals. In terms of, once you start to get known, then people would start, if you generate a name for yourself in the area, and if you look after your property, so if you generate a good reputation for yourself, you look after people's properties, word of mouth will speak volumes in terms of getting other leads and your investors telling their other investor friends that you look after their property really well, and then they'll recommend you to them, and hopefully that will sort of generate income, generate deals, direct to landlord deals to you that way as well. So it's all about building a name and a reputation for yourself as well.
Yeah, amazing. It takes with property, it takes a bit time, but it doesn't take that long as some people would think. So you have to be very patient, because it's not only about, like, you find one property. If you want to scale, obviously, it's not about just finding a one property and maybe one investor to furnish the property or anything like that. If you're thinking bigger, it's a game which, like, for example, social media, networking, as you said, building relationship with agents, sourcing the properties, etc., etc. There's a lot into it, isn't it? But it's fun if you love it. No, and then it can be really, really fun and what's the word I'm looking for now? Satisfying.
Satisfying, yeah.
When you start seeing
I can't say that I love all aspects of service accommodation, as I've said earlier, but I definitely love the opportunities that it provides you. So in terms of the cash flow, it can replace your income really quickly. And I managed to replace my medical income within a few months of starting service accommodation. So it can be done.
That's fantastic.
So it's, I'm passionate and excited about the opportunities that it can give you. Also, the people that I've met, the network that I've started to develop. It's not just SA operators, because I don't just do SA. Like, I need to highlight that. I do deal packaging. I have my own investment portfolio, and so we're deal sourcing. And we also offer investors a great return on their money if they just want to invest their cash with us. We can offer them bank breaking returns of 7, 8, on their money compared to the 0.1% that they're getting in the banks at the moment. So I'm passionate about the networks and the people that I'm meeting and the opportunities that all of this property investing is providing me with. So that's what I'm really passionate about, to be honest.
Fantastic. Yeah, it is. I have an investor who meant to come, one of my investors, he found me through social media and he wanted to come over just before the corona started because he was interested, because I offer similar returns to investor as well for my service accommodations unit here. He wanted to come over, had a look at some opportunities, go to a networking event together, and then the corona started, so he couldn't come over. But what I wanted to say is that I found him through social media, and just by showing what you're doing, and then we just had a chat. You could, they ask you like, so what? How does it work? How does this deal would work? Just by simple little presentation, you can explain that, right? Your money is sitting in the bank, making that much. Give it to me, and I'll give you a 10%, for example, 8%. That's not a bad deal at all. So yeah, it's a really it's huge. Yeah, absolutely. Who would not want to do that?
Anyone that's got money sat in the bank at the moment is actually losing money. If you think about the interest that you're getting at 0.1% and inflation, you are literally losing money as we speak if it's sat in the bank. So do something with it and start to invest with it. That's my one piece of advice here.
Yeah, give it to us. We turn them into more.
We can make you money, guys.
We can make you lots of money, exactly. So you are based in Plymouth, just so that if anybody wants to contact you. So Tania is based in Plymouth. Plymouth is absolutely fantastic place.
You're literally on the doorstep of Dartmoor, you're on the doorstep of Cornwall, that's literally down the road. You're on the water, you've got the sea, it's called the Ocean City in the UK. It's a great location for so many different reasons, and it's a great area to invest in because property prices are really accessible at the moment in Plymouth. You can get houses around 100 grand, flats certainly a lot less than that, 60 grand, 60, 70 grand, something like that. So there's a lot of scope to actually invest in this area. So it's an exciting place to invest.
Also started to teach now, is that correct? About service accommodation.
Yeah, so I do mentor. Yeah, so I mentor in service accommodation. So for anyone that's interested, I would say that now is not the time. If you're a newbie, now is not the time, and I wouldn't want to encourage anyone to get into service accommodation at the moment. That's my personal opinion, because it's a real tough deal at the moment because of coronavirus, COVID-19. We aren't able to host the usual people that we would normally host. Rates are a lot lower than usual. So it's really tough. So I wouldn't encourage any newbie to get into SA at the moment. However, I do mentor in service accommodation. I'm really passionate about that, about helping other people kind of generate the cash flow that they want and give themselves the lifestyle that they want. So reach out to me if anyone's interested in that. I'm more than happy to speak about that. I've got quite a few exciting things coming up in the training space in terms of service accommodation over the next few months and weeks. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But I do offer a mastermind, and I also offer one-to-one mentoring in service accommodation, which I really, really love doing. So I've been doing that for around a year, just almost a year now. I think May last year I started mentoring on a one-to-one basis, and I've started masterminds and training days since then as well, which I absolutely love doing. It's really exciting to work with people on a one-to-one basis. So yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm gonna put the details somewhere below when I make a video as well. I'll put in the video, if you want, like, if you don't mind somebody contacting you, if they want some if they want some help from our wonderful Tania. And
feel free
as we have all a lot to learn from you, definitely.
Thank you.
Now, so now we source the property. We know how to source the property. Would you have any tips for the beginners on, for example, like the furnishing part? Like, do you go buy brand new furniture, or do you go second hand, or do you have any tips for the beginners out there in regards to furnishing?
So, property? In terms of furnishing, like, you don't have to spend a huge amount to make a property look really premium and really high end. So our most recent setup we did, thank you, I think so. I think they look really nice. That's the part I really love doing, to be honest. So our most recent unit, we spent and that's a luxury waterside apartment. It's really sought after, that place. It's always booked, even now. Well, not this week actually, but from next week I've got like a £2,000 booking in there, so I'm very happy with that. It's a 1-bed property, and we set that up. Our goal was 1,600, but actually our total setup for that was just, I think, 1,900 or 2,000 actually. So for a 1-bed property with very high end looking stuff, very good quality stuff, we sourced a lot of that secondhand. We sourced a lot of the kind of kitchen utensils and things from IKEA. But you don't, one top tip about furnishing a setup is you don't have to spend a huge amount to actually set up a property and make it look like it's really high end and premium. So that's one top tip. I would say be mindful about where you're sourcing your furniture and your setup stuff from, because again, you don't need to be spending loads of money to make it look really nice and attractive, but you do need good quality stuff. And I would say anything that touches your skin, anything like the bed, the mattress, pillows, duvets, towels, those kind of things need to be really good quality, because those are the things that your guests are going to really appreciate if they're staying in your units. And it's going to kind of separate you from the others, but also they will remember you and probably come back to you because of the extra comfort and things that you kind of input into your property.
Absolutely, great advice. I never forget when I learned from like a property show, maybe like 2 years ago. Something just got stuck in my head in regards to when you just mentioned the bed sheets, for example. It was a property show where someone explained that no matter what you do in your apartment for service, like for the service accommodation or your holiday apartment, you can have everything so pretty, but when the guests when they wake up in the morning and the sheet, they don't feel nice, that's what they remember, because it's a holiday. For some reason, is that the sheet, the duvets are so important, more important than many people actually think. It's
definitely.
It's a psychology thing in there as well, isn't it? You wake up in the morning, no matter how beautiful the place is, no matter whatever views you have, when you're not feeling like nice and cozy and all that in your bed sheets, that's a huge, it's a game changer, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to pay attention to detail when you are running a hospitality business, which SA is a hospitality business. You have to make sure that you're paying attention to detail, that the guest experience is all looked after from A to B, and that goes from all of your guest communication prior to when they actually check in to throughout their stay, from when they actually check out of your property. So attention to detail at all times. So it has to be as smooth a process as possible, for the guests to kind of enjoy their stay and then want to come back and book again or extend their stay.
Absolutely. Yeah, as you said, the paying attention to the detail is huge in every single in every single aspect, but you don't have to overcomplicate it as well. No, it's just like fine, just think as a guest, basically, that sort of thing. Now, if you would be a guest, and you will, like, for example, I've been in once I spent a time in a service accommodation where I had no coffee table for next to sofa, and you're thinking, the place is really nice, but I have nowhere to put my drink. And then you put it on the floor, and you're risking that you're going to damage the carpet, and it's not making you feel that comfortable because you're already scared that you're going to damage something. So it's just like things like that, that I know coffee table, it's a maybe a bad example for many because you would think that's illogical, but I personally had this experience. So you would think that would be normal, but it's actually not. It's interesting, isn't it? Just think, when you're setting up service accommodation, just walk around the property and just think, if I'm a guest and I walk in here, what do I want? What do I would like to see? It's huge importance.
So everyone that I mentor, so anyone that works with me, I actually advocate them actually staying in their SA units prior to actually receiving any guests, because then you will be able to highlight things that are wrong, that need changing, that need adapting. So that's really important. And I mean, it all comes down to experience at the end of the day. And if you can go and stay in your property for one night prior to you receiving guests, you can actually learn a lot from being in the property, and like the amendments that you would make and the adjustments that you would make and the things that are missing that should be there. You should be able to note those down to make sure that your guest experience isn't affected significantly and it's as good as possible, basically.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
Because it's like with what you were just explaining is the something very, very important for the beginners to know is that service accommodation is highly driven on reviews. Like if you have a bad reviews or no reviews, you are in little trouble. Like that's what people look for when they're booking a place, isn't it? It's the reviews. So all these details, as you say, attention to details, right fabrics on the, you know, bed sheets, etc. They're so important, because what you want is to people leave you a great review, because that's how you build your reputation, and that's how you build up your name, and more reviews you obviously get, higher up you are on your, you know, on the OTAs, which for the beginners it's online travel agent, which is something like Airbnb, booking.com, etc., wherever you are promoting your property. So highly driven on that. So pay attention to the details, listeners.
That's very true, very true.
It's huge, isn't it? So what sort of, as we mentioned now, the OTA, so for the beginners, what sort of places is good to advertise? Like booking.com and Airbnb is the most common one, aren't they? Do you use anything else outside of that?
That's a very sensitive subject at the moment, because due to COVID-19 at the moment, they've actually closed all calendars on Airbnb and booking.com. So they've literally shut everyone down until the 9th of May, which is, you know, it's quite stressful if the majority of your bookings come through there. But if you are set up to actually generate and drive more direct bookings, then you should not be significantly affected by that. Obviously, at the moment, we can only host guests who are key workers, so that's NHS staff or other key and critical workers, but also people that cannot return to their primary residence for whatever reason, for you know, a real reason, like they're from abroad and they can't go back, they can't catch a flight. You can only host them. But at the moment, booking.com and Airbnb literally have no listings. So if you search for anywhere in the UK, you will not find anything on either of those platforms. But in terms of advertising, so in terms of the OTAs, Expedia is a massive one. They are a massive group, and they will put you on to 20 odd, or if not more, OTAs. If you set your properties up on Expedia. Other places that I like to advertise and we advertise on are TripAdvisor, Agoda, and there's a whole host of corporate sites as well, like Situ, Sacco, and Silverdor as well, and they're for more corporate driven bookings, which are great, and they're often quite lucrative because they're often longer as well, so they're great sites to be on, and we get a lot of leads from them. But also you want to really be driving direct booking, so you don't want to be building your house on someone else's land. So that's a kind of a quote that I've taken from a guy that I work with and that I follow, called Mark Simpson, who's all about marketing your hospitality business. So he always puts his foot down and say, you literally do not want to be building your house on someone else's land. What he means by that is you don't just want your business to be totally reliant on the OTAs like booking.com and Airbnb, because if they take the rug from under your feet, which is what they've done recently at the moment due to COVID-19, then you've literally not got a leg to stand on. So it's really important to drive direct booking. So that's through your website, through Google My Business, and through, you know, social media targeted ads. We do a lot of Facebook ads now. You can do Insta ads as well, Google ads if you want to, although they are more expensive. But like Facebook ads can be really, really cost effective and cost you a few pounds per lead or per booking. So it's well worth doing that as long as you know what you're doing. But yeah, it's all about knowing what you're doing and marketing. You cannot do enough marketing when you're in service accommodation, and you shouldn't be relying on the OTAs to generate your income and to run your business, because you're just going to fail massively if you just rely on those alone.
Yeah, if something happens, as you said, because sometimes I'm forgetting that we're talking during the COVID now, because, you know, we just, COVID's going to end one day. Yeah. So obviously service accommodation, it's a fantastic strategy, but your apps, yes, I'm staying positive 100%.
Oh yeah, I have to stay positive. It will end. It is painful at the moment, but we all have to remain positive. You know, mindset is everything at the moment. And if you can't maintain a bulletproof, unshakable mindset right now, that's basically the thing that you need to build on. You need to have a bulletproof mindset at the moment to carry you through this really unstable, really uncertain, really difficult time. So we all have to remain with an unshakable mindset, or at least learn how to develop an unshakable mindset to get you through this really difficult and challenging time.
And be creative.
It's really important.
Be creative.
Oh, be creative.
Think of outside the box. Very important.
Think outside the box. Take yourself out of your situation. Like, step back from things is what I would say, and look at things with sort of a fisheye lens. Like, read between the lines. Look more outside of the box, be more creative, because there are loads of opportunities happening there. You know, a lot of people aren't unfortunately making money. I'm making money right now, which I'm really grateful for, but it's through a lot of graft, through a lot of hard work. But there are huge opportunities out there for so many people. So just step out of your small world and actually realize it's not just you being affected, but okay, what are the problems at the moment that people are facing, and how can I provide a solution for that? If you can come up with solutions for problems that people are going through at the moment, or at any time in life, to be honest, then you are onto a winner. You are going to succeed in something, and that's coming back to what an entrepreneur is. You are a solution provider to a problem, essentially.
Absolutely.
Went off on a tangent there.
You felt it from the bottom of your heart, because it's just
I did. It was right here.
You went through a lot with when the COVID started. As I said, you had with the business and the personal life with the little children having chicken pox and being little, just that on its own. It's already a lot. So
yes.
you know,
I have my hands full.
So when you talk about mindset, that's why probably you talk with real passion and from bottom of your heart, because you stay very positive and bulletproof mindset.
Yeah, mindset is huge, and I've massively worked on my mindset over the last few years, but particularly since COVID-19, over the last 5 weeks, I've worked on a daily basis on making sure that my mindset is unshakable, making sure that it's bulletproof, because there are so many curveballs being thrown at everyone, but I feel like they're being thrown at me at the moment constantly. You know, COVID, all of our bookings got cancelled pretty much bar one or two. So you think, God, how is my business going to keep running? I thought that was it for my business, and I thought we would actually sink, but we didn't. And I've actually turned it around. We're generating income and revenue, which I'm really grateful for. But that was through a lot of hard work on my part, and also speaking to the right people as well, who are on the same kind of path as me in terms of mindset and positivity to keep me uplifted. But I'm doing work now with a lot of entrepreneurs, which I'm really excited about, on mindset, on maintaining your positivity, on maintaining you on your kind of path and your vision, which is really important. I've got a really exciting project that will be coming out soonish, not quite yet. I'm not going to be spilling the beans on what it is exactly at the moment, but I'm going to be working with a lot of entrepreneurs, providing a service to kind of help them be as successful and as productive as possible in business. So I'm really excited about that, but can't say too much about that just yet.
Exciting times. Well, we're gonna keep our ears tuned and eyes opened. So for those who don't follow you yet, I'm sure that they will be after this episode. So for the YouTube channel, I will put the like your Facebook page or something, on the video, and on the podcast I'll just put it in the comments. But just for those who don't follow you yet, you also do something called a Monday motivation, do you? So you have really into your mindset.
Yeah. I haven't done it for the last few weeks, but I'm starting again this coming week. It'll be more regular. So Monday morning mindset, every Monday. I'll be doing it about 8:30 in the morning. Just join me for a live video on social. It will be on my Facebook profile, but I'll probably be putting it on my page as well. And I've started using Instagram recently, so I'll try and stream it on Instagram as well. There's a lot to take in. But essentially, I want to help people as much as possible to maintain an unshakable mindset, because there's so much that we can control at the moment. Why worry about the things that you can't control? That's really important to me. There's so much going on out there at the moment that we can't control. We can't control, the disease that's happening out there. We can do our little bit to make sure that we restrict the spread as much as possible to save our NHS, and that's absolutely fundamental. But in terms of things that we can control in our daily life, in our mindset, in the way that we run our days at the moment, there's so much that you can still do. There's so much that you can do to stay productive, to still achieve the goals that you've set yourself to achieve. There are so many things that you should remain positive for. And so I'm all about controlling what you can actually control, rather than worrying about things that you can't control that are out of your control. So yeah, join me every Monday at 8:30 for Monday morning mindset.
Amazing. I'm sure they will. And the thing is with the lives is that even if you can't catch your live, you can always watch it later. That's normally my situation. I'll just catch up with your lives, because we all working different hours. We all have different different responsibilities during the day, and if I can't catch you live, I'll just sometimes I'll genuinely go and look for your videos. I'll go like, right, where is the Tanya's video? I need a little bit of Tanya time.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, so I pretty much always save my videos on whichever social platform I'm doing them on. So yeah, you can catch up with those. But it's always good to be on a live, because I encourage interaction as much as possible. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
So I think so it's always good to get in on a live if you can, just for the interaction element.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. Because when if you have any questions, or if you just want to give a little bit of comment about something or help each other, because as much as you can help someone, people maybe can help you. Who knows? Like if they're not there with you, do you know what I mean? Like you can share some ideas, or you can just exchange like opinion or something. It's just going like, I personally don't go live yet myself, because I'm so scared that I'm going to screw something up. But I do follow people's lives. Maybe I'm going to start soon.
Worry about. And what's the worst that could happen? You can always delete it if you do a live. You can always delete it. So I think you should step out of your comfort zone lengths.
But yeah, I should definitely. But it's all about the mindset, isn't it? As you said. So even my little blockage on that, it's about the mindset. Right. So now let's just go back a little bit back to the essays as well. So now we were talking a bit about the OTA, so where to like promote the essay and how to furnish it. Now in regards to like managing it, like now for the OTAs, so owner travel agents, if you have your property in a multiple owner travel agents, now obviously you don't want to risk that you get double booking. So would you recommend the beginners to use a channel manager, which is a program which automatically blocks other websites if you get booking on one of them? Would you recommend that from the beginning, or would you recommend that as you grow? What would be like your opinion on that? Because everybody has different
so my opinion on that is you don't need a channel manager for your first property. However, if you've got two and you're looking to scale up, then you should really be looking to get a channel manager. And there are so many out there. Not everyone ticks everyone's boxes. So you have to kind of do a bit of trial and error, do their tests, do their little demos with them, just to see how each one works, to see which one suits you. Obviously go into all your property forums and your essay forums, of which I have one. So guys, if you're not in my essay Facebook group, it's Survive and Thrive Essay 2020. It's a private group, so you'll need to request, but get into that because I share a lot of content on there. There's a lot of good stuff being shared on there, including lots of bookings that we're kind of trying to give people as well. So if you're not part of that, then that's a great Facebook group to be part of for essay. What was I saying? What was your question, Links?
About channel manager, if you would recommend that to go from managers,
of course. Yeah, so if you've got one unit, I don't think it's necessary, because it's an unnecessary expense, because it does cost you. And again, the different channel managers are priced differently, so it may be a percentage of your revenue that they charge you, or it may just be a fixed monthly fee per property. So it is an expense at the end of the day. So if you've got one unit, you don't need a channel manager. I think you could do all of the functions necessary without it. But from 2+ units, I would definitely recommend getting a channel manager. And there are loads out there. I personally use Guesty. The main function of a channel manager is to maintain and manage your calendar to avoid you getting double bookings, which is key, because you get penalized if you have to cancel bookings due to double bookings by the OTAs. In Airbnb, if you've got Superhost status, they'll remove that if you have to cancel bookings. If you are on booking.com and you have to cancel bookings, they will quite likely charge you for relocating that guest to another property. So it's really important for you to have control over your calendar to prevent double bookings. So the other real major function of a channel manager also is to centralize your rates. So it reduces your workload in terms of your rates. So you centralize your rates in your channel manager in one place, and then it pushes all those rates out to all of the OTAs that your properties are registered on. So it basically has the function of reducing your workload, but also avoiding double bookings. So it is important. There are loads of other PMS, which is property management software functions, that a lot of the channel managers have. So Guesty has lots of great automation functions, which I absolutely love. So all of my cleaning communication is automated, which is great through Guesty. All of my guest messages are automated. So my guests to receive a timeline of messages, emails and SMSs, which I think personally SMS is brilliant because you get their attention quicker, whereas not everyone opens their emails all the time. So they get a whole timeline of guest messages and emails, and that's all automated through the channel manager. So if you're looking at scaling up, or if you're looking at getting 2+ properties, then I would definitely recommend getting a channel manager. But the one that you choose is a personal preference. That's up to you.
Yeah, that's a great advice. Great advice. Yeah, because I speak a lot with people who want to start in service accommodation, and they also ask me for my advice because I work in service accommodation now for a while. And yeah, I found it's absolutely huge having the channel manager, because you have so many things to think about, and you also have your life, and everybody has different things. So you can have a full-time job, you can have children, you can have other things in your personal life, etc., or other projects going on, and you can easily forget little things as well. Like, for example, about the automated messages, I found very interesting. Like, I found that very huge as well, that if you forget, for example, to send your guest their checkout details or checking details, or check on them while they in your SA unit, for example, you can risk getting a bad review, for example. And we said in the before that it's huge to get a good review. So channel manager helps you with automated messages, which is absolutely crucial, isn't it? So yeah, definitely. Right. Okay. So now we covered how you get the property, and how you furnish it, and how is it easier to, is it to run it. So do you have any top 3 tips from Tania?
So this kind of goes for anything that you want to get into. You have to educate yourself, and that can sound really cliche, but I'm not saying go and pay for loads of courses or go and pay for lots of expensive mentorships. Whatever works for you. So what I would suggest is surrounding yourself with people that really know what they're doing in the business that you want to get into. So if that's SA, then SA. It can mean reading lots of books, listening to podcasts, watching some YouTube videos to really educate yourself on that particular niche, on that particular business. So that's my first top tip. My second top tip, and this goes for business in general, would be have your vision, and have your vision concrete in your head, because that's super important. If you don't have a concrete vision, every time you have curveballs being thrown at you, which is happening all the time at the moment, you are going to kind of lose your way. You're going to be like flotsam on the water on the sea, like just being pushed from here to there. But if you've got a strong vision, if you have a direction, if you know exactly what you're going for, every time you go off tangent, you'll come back to your vision because you know what it is that you want. So that's really important for service accommodation, but for business in general. Tip number 3 then, it would be have an unshakable mindset, which is really important. Again, that's business in general, life in general. It's up to you to go and get what you want in life, and it's up to you to maintain a strong unshakable mindset. That's really important. So personally, for me, the way that I'm kind of doing that at the moment particularly is reducing all the noise, all the distraction, all of the hype that's going on about COVID-19, which is just, it's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it every day. It's massive. But it doesn't do me any good getting involved in discussions about it much, getting involved in hype on the internet, hype with the news. I'm not watching the news much at the moment. I'm watching it, keeping my eye on it on a regular basis, but I have to protect myself, and to protect my mindset, and to protect my productivity, to protect what I have to get done on a day-to-day basis for my family, for myself. I am limiting the exposure of the news and all the hype and all the social media hype about COVID-19 and the crisis at the moment. I'm doing my bit, and I'm learning, and I'm educating myself on what's going on regularly, but I'm not getting involved and not letting that distraction get to me. So those are kind of my top 3 tips, but I have a few other tips if you'd want them.
We would love to hear any tips from you.
Because, as I say, I'm working with entrepreneurs now to kind of help their success and help them along the paths that they want as well. So a 4th top tip would be to learn about compounding, and there's a great book out there called The Compound Effect.
Yeah, I read it last week,
which is amazing. I've only listened to a few bits of it, so I've not read the whole book, but I've read a lot about compounding in the past, and it's huge in terms of we're all in a very unstable position at the moment. We can't get done the amount of stuff that we would normally get done on a day-to-day basis. You know, I've got my 2 children at home, I've got a business to run, I've got 2 new businesses to set up at the moment. I'm not going to be as productive as I would normally be on a day-to-day basis. So if you learn to take some simple steps every day towards your goal, towards your vision, which goes back to my point number 2 about having a strong vision, then you will eventually get there. So it's all about adding bits on each day, just doing a little bit each day to actually compound the effect to get to where you want to go. It's like your savings. If you're going to save X amount of money every week, at the end of a year or 2, you would be amazed at the amount of money that you've saved, for example. That's all about compounding. So I would definitely focus on compounding and read the book. Tip number 5 would be time management. So and this is about kind of business and success and property investing in general. Time is our biggest, most expensive, most sought after asset at the moment, and in life in general, particularly now. Like, the amount of time that I have at the moment to do things that I need to or I want to is really, really limited. It's really restricted. And once you start to do things, once you start to put yourself out on social media, once you become known as an expert in your field, people are going to want to take a bit of your time here. They're going to want a call with you. They're going to want to meet with you. They're going to want more and more of your time. So you need to protect your time as much as possible. So you need to keep on top of your time or diary management as much as possible, to protect yourself, to get the shit done that you need to get done. Excuse my French. So that's really key. One amazing book that I would recommend anyone listen or read to would be The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, that's
which is incredible, and you can learn all about your time or diary management in that book. So I'd highly recommend that. And yeah, another top tip would be leverage and outsource. And this could be related to SA or, again, any other business. Leverage and outsource a lot earlier and a lot sooner than you think you actually should do or you should need to, because then that will give you the platform to actually jump and scale and grow your business a lot quicker, with a team around you helping you to do the jobs that you don't really want to be doing, to help you focus on working on your business rather than inside your business. So those are some top tips from me, really.
Fantastic, great tips, fantastic tips from Tania.
You're welcome.
Something we should listen to and take on board. When you mentioned when you were mentioning your last tips, there were always a book mentioned in there as well. So I just want to say that, have you read when you mentioned leverage? There's a book from Rob Moore called Live Leverage. Have you read that book?
Yeah, I've listened to the audiobook.
Yeah, that's a great one as well. Now we're talking about the leverage as well. So if anybody wants to learn more about leverage, there's a great book as well called Live Leverage by Rob Moore, which is a great book. It's one of the first books I ever listened to, as well.
It's brilliant. Definitely recommend. Another book of his, Routine Equals Results, is a really small book, really, really thin. You could get through it in a day, or half a day, and that's all about looking at your routine, to change up your routine to make sure you get the results that you want to. So it's looking at your routine, your habits, which have an effect on the results that you get. So that's a great book to read as well. I've mentioned the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. That is one of my all-time kind of go-tos, really. I would highly recommend that. You know, there are lots of books out there that a lot of people recommend to get and to read in terms of property investing and business in general, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. You know, I'm not going to give you all of those lists because everyone always gives those books to read and to listen to. So I'm going to do something different. So I've said the 4-Hour Work Week for productivity and time and diary management. Then I would say Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, which is for the motivation, for the inspiration.
Fantastic book. Yeah, what an inspiration.
That's an amazing book. And then another book to kind of get you on the right path, to keep you focused and to keep you focused on the path for your vision, I would say The Values Factor by Dr. John Martini, which is an awesome book that I've listened to on audiobook. So I'd highly recommend that. And that is kind of related to business, but it's also related to your life and to your relationships in general. So I definitely recommend listening to that or reading that one.
Fantastic, great books, great advice. And as you said, when you said about the Rich Dad Poor Dad, I was about to say something, and then you actually said that about everybody's recommending it. I was about to tell you that every single person I interviewed before, they recommend the Rich Dad Poor Dad as the first classic, isn't it? It's just the classic, absolute classic, isn't it?
It's classic.
It is.
It's a classic. Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich, they're classics, and they're the books that most people have built their books on, to be honest. Let's face it, a lot of people have. So why do you want me to repeat that? Like, everyone should know about those books. If you're on about self-development, about business, about about creating an empire or leaving a legacy for your family, everyone should know about those books. So I've kind of gone one step further.
Fantastic. I also found it with something like service accommodation, when you're starting out, and when you're a beginner especially, and you thinking about waiting to get all the ducks in the row or trying to be perfect and things like that. Another really interesting book, especially for the beginners out there, is again from Rob Moore, which we mentioned, called Start Now and Get Perfect Later. Then this one is as well, that was a game changer for me as well. So for the beginners out there, don't be scared to start because you're not ready or you are not sure if you're ready.
Live videos, links, live videos.
Start now.
Start now, get perfect.
In regards to so many people, they looking to watch something motivational, so they don't like reading, for example, or even if they do, sometimes it's nice to just watch something. So do you have anything to recommend, maybe on Netflix or I don't know, on Amazon Prime? Do you have anything you like watching, something inspirational? Doesn't need to be property, it could be mindset, for example.
In terms of motivational type stuff, I would recommend going onto YouTube and just like Googling people like Jim Rohn to get some motivation and to get some mindset stuff. He's awesome. Loads of people on YouTube. Just go on YouTube if you want to actually watch something. But I'm a massive kind of podcast and audiobook listener, so I listen to Gin and Tonic, which Win and Tonic, not Gin and Tonic.
You like having Gin and Tonic?
I listen to him. I had one last night and it was very good and very strong.
Nice.
And it knocked me sideways. So I listen to Win and Tonic. I listen to the Gary Vee podcast. Oh, there's loads of podcasts that I listen to. I listen to Rob Moore, Disruptive Entrepreneurs podcast. So I'm more about listening, really, because I can get stuff done whilst, I can look after my children while I'm listening to a podcast, whereas I can't really be watching something and looking after the kids or doing other things that I need to do. So so I'm more of an audio person because of my time management, really.
Yeah, but that's great. You can do a lot of things with audio, because you can do basically two things at the same time. You can either drive, or you can cook, or you can clean, or there's loads of things you can do while you are getting educated or motivated. So exactly. That's a great advice. And for those who never heard of Win and Tonic, that means that you have to go back in my episodes, because I interviewed the guy who does Win and Tonic podcast, called Andy Thomas, and the episode number 4, episode number 4 was with Andy Thomas. So it's a great mindset podcast. They're normally relatively very short as well, 15-20 minutes. I think his only last one was a bit longer, but they're genuinely very small and short episodes to get motivated. So I'm sure he's going to be very pleased that you are his follower, because he
knows that, and he knows that I've fallen asleep with him in bed as well. In my ears.
Fantastic. Tania, you are absolute gem, absolute diamond for coming on the show today. You give loads of value and loads of inspiration to everybody. Thank you so much for all your tips and everything. I'm gonna put your details.
Welcome. It's a pleasure.
I'm gonna put your details everywhere so people can find you, they can follow you. And
Zahra King Mohammed. On Facebook, my page is Dr. Tania. Insta is Dr. Tania or the Dr. Tania. So you can find me in there somewhere. Let me on Insta, guys, please, because I've literally just started using that properly. So that would be an amazing help. The Dr. Tania.
The Dr. Tania. Right. So again, thank you so much, my lovely. And I will speak to you soon. And thank you very much to the listeners for tuning in today. And have a fantastic rest of the day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.